Now we're up on the treehouse. This is a fairly good view of the system used for making the rope railings. The wooden part of the railings are, I forget at this point, 42 inches high, I think, which is the International Building Code for safety railings for a deck or porch that has a drop of more than a certain amount of feet. A lot of tree houses are structured to have a good railing height for kids, but I wanted this to be a treehouse that was safe for everybody, including after when the kids grow up even taller. The way that you do the lacing, as detailed in the Styles' book, is simpler than it looks. If you think about a pair of sneakers, you have holes in the sides of the sneakers and you lace your sneaker lacing through those holes in a zigzag pattern. If you think of the set of loops on top and bottom around the wood here as those holes, then all you do is lace between them with one little twist as each time you come out of the hole. It's best if you try it on a pair of drinking straws with some string or something before you try and do it on the treehouse, but it really goes quite quickly once you've figured out what you're doing. We will continue doing our turn around the eastern side of the treehouse. You can see the cutout for the big pine tree there. Here is the table folded down. You can also see, if you look closely, in the tree that the table is attached to, about a foot up, there's a small pulley. Near as we can figure out, that pulley was meant to have a laundry line that went down to the house. We think over time, as the tree grew, it somehow got pushed around towards the back, and now it's facing completely away from the house, but it's still there. This is the mailbox that the kids put random things in. They really like it, and obviously the wind is pushing around the magnifying glass at present. Now you can see out over the landscape a bit. Remember, at this point your feet are about almost 18 feet above the forest floor on this side, down to the neighbor's house and around. Here we are looking roughly westward, well, northwest. You can see the edge of a plastic chair, fairly common type. I was going to make the kids proper woodland style benches and put brown stain on them to match the treehouse and so on, but the kids wanted the grown-up style chairs. So we've left those up here, and I may eventually do the real benches themselves. We'll see. As we go past, there's the far railing. The bell is in for repair at present, but it goes on that little lever above the railing. Continuing to look west, you can see all the floorboards, which are the 2x10s, the neighbors, and so on over that way. And the gap in the trees where eventually the rope ladder will go all the way down to there. You can see where I've cut out around those trees so that there's some growing room. If they grow a lot, I can get out my little jigsaw and cut out more space. The jigsaw was a present from my husband, very useful. Here's a view of the folded up table. You can see the clothesline attached to two screws, one on either side of the table surface, going around the back of the leaning oak tree. That allows it to not fall on anybody's heads when they're in the process of putting it up and down, because the tree leans a bit away from the vertical. It's hinged up at the top there, the leg is hinged up at the top, and as you open it, just opens down. There's the bottom of the table, and now you can see where the cutout for the tree actually is. Under there, there are some supports for the floorboards so that it doesn't bend or break if somebody steps on that narrow section. I did most of the construction in August and September of this year. I kind of planned it as I went along. I had a basic idea, and then once I found out that the size of support boards I could get were 16 feet long, I had planned on 13. I figured, well, why not use them to the fullest? So we ended up having this little porch section, which is what I call it, the end on the left-hand side of the screen. It extends out from the basic square of the treehouse, and was kind of a, not exactly a last minute addition, but certainly not something I'd planned on at the beginning. But it makes it extra fun because it kind of projects over the edge of the hill just a little bit. If you're in the treehouse, it gives that impression at any rate. And there's the lovely ladder and the rope helping you not fall off the ladder. The kids don't seem to have any trouble with that, but the grown-ups do seem to really find it useful and reassuring. The the stairs are pretty narrow, but it does provide some reassurance. You can see the hill here. I'm down roughly at ground level right now, and there's a bit of the hill and the edge of the garage, and my beehive is over there. That was my first carpentry project. Please feel free to comment on the video or ask questions, and I'll be happy to answer things every so often. Thank you. Here we have a view of the tree house from inside the house. This illustrates one of the other aspects of positioning. Because my kids are fairly young, I didn't want the tree house that would be too far from being seen from the house, so I could keep an eye on them. They were only 7 when I started the project. One of the things that I didn't mention before was when I was planning it, I didn't really know how it was all going to work out. So I bought some 1x2 boards that were about 10 feet long and nailed them up lightly to the trees so I could kind of see how it would look in space. That really helped a lot. You could also do the same thing with cords, mason line, that kind of thing like that. Underneath, the boards are held together mostly with framing nails. I used some structural corners, like joist hangers, but they go in the corners, to help make sure the thing was square. That helped a lot because, of course, it was just me doing it, so it was a lot easier to put it together, having something that would be taking care of some of those aspects, because otherwise it would have been kind of difficult to get it all together. To get it all together all by myself. Not right now, but eventually they're going to be hurricane ties, making sure that the frame for the floor is securely attached to the support boards. Right now, the frame for the floor has lag screws into the trees in a couple places, and of course the support boards do have lag screws into the trees. So it's unlikely to slip off, but some hurricane ties would probably be a good idea as well. One of the things I didn't mention also was that the eventual roof that's going to be on this, one of its other purposes is to keep sap from falling on the floorboards. In some of the other views you can see all kinds of white blobs on the floor, and that is because of pine sap that falls from up high in the tree onto the ground and onto, of course, the floorboards. And then your feet stick to it quite a lot when you're walking around. Eventually also I may put lattice underneath the floor to make sort of walls for the underside where the kids can play. I haven't decided when that's going to be happening, but we may do that eventually. You can see that the vertical parts of the railing are kind of stripy. One side is dark and one side is light. That's because I was running out of wood stain. I didn't want to buy a whole nother gallon of wood stain, which cost about $25 and was a special mix. So I only stained part of it. I think that's all the things that I forgot to mention before, so that's all for now.